We are in Bukhara, a booming tourist city, a legendary name for Islamic civilizations. This city is also a home for Bukharan Jewish people. Bukharan Jews have occupied various Central Asian cities, towns and villages for centuries. Some say they arrived at the end of the Babylonian exile when Cyrus the Great gave the Jews permission to return to Palestine after his conquest of Babylonia in 538 BCE. Other accounts trace Jewish immigration to Central Asia up to the 20th century with constant assimilation of new waves of Jewish immigration. Whatever their provenance, Bukharan Jews were deeply ensconced in the region for centuries, where they played a significant part in the development of Central Asian civilization. The goal of the current documentary is to contribute to the preservation of the Bukharan Jewish language, also known as Bukhari and Judeo-Tajik, and to encourage preservation of their cultural and material heritage. With this aim in mind, we will talk to some Bukharan Jews and try to enter to the daily lives of Bukharan Jews in Uzbekistan and in the United States and hear their stories about their history and the lives in Uzbekistan and abroad.
I am from the city of Bukhara and was born in 1935. My family consists of my father, my mother, my older brother, my older sister, my younger sister, and myself.
I was born in 1938 in the city of Shahrisabz, Kashkadaria region, the Republic of Uzbekistan, in the family of workers. My mother, Yoshua Baruchova, and my father, Osher Malakov, the child of Notonov.
I was born in Samarkand in a family of legendary artists, Frida Mulakandova and Pinkas Kurayev.
I was born in 1938 and I started attending school in 1945.
I was born in the city of Bukhara in 1948. My family had 5 children. My mother is Yusupova Kishenya and my father Malkayev Gavriel. My mother died 13 years ago. There are 2 sons and 3 daughters in my family. My mother taught all us girls to be nurses.
I was born in Bukhara. Our family was religious. My father was a very pious person. He visited the synagogue. He was a chazan of this synagogue. A chazan is someone who has a good and pleasant voice, and he reads. My mother was a housewife. These were simple, pious people. Every one of them had fear of God in their hearts, and this way they raised us.
یکومین کی میداند یکومین من میدانم یکومین خدای ربون عالمین دویومیم کی میداند دویومیم من میدانم دویومیم دو لوحیگو هر یکومین خدای ربان عالمین.
I was born in a family of artists. I was very spoiled. I was very naughty. I would go out with boys, and if a boy gave me trouble, I would beat him up. I would say, "What are you doing and what are you saying?" like that. Then we would play a game called Zumbala Zumbala, where we throw a stone on a square and then take a deep breath and jump to land on the same square as the stone. After we reached school age, I went to the Kobyshev school, a Tajik school where I studied for 10 years. After the Kobyshev school, I went to the medical college, and after the medical college, I graduated from the Samarkand Medical Institute.
The school was called Stalin School before, and then it was called Lahuti after Stalin in the 1950s, and at that time we finished school. After graduating from the school, I participated in the extracurricular activities in the arts.
I was very happy living in such a family. I was always immersed in music, songs, and dance. And for this reason, from a young age, when I was 5, I already began singing and dancing. You know, when you live in a neighborhood, it's interesting for people to know how a little girl sings and dances. This is why I was very successful. At the age of 7, I already participated in festivals. At that time, if you remember, there were festivals among schools, and we received awards. I started attending a Tajik school in 1953 in Bukhara, and in 1963 I finished school.
Our childhood was a golden childhood. We played from morning till evening. We played in the street. What kind of games? We played, and Uzbek children also, we played with kites and flew them, and we played jumping games and other types of games. We jumped and ran from morning till evening. We organized soccer championships among neighborhoods. We did not sit in front of the computers.
Allah is the name of a lullaby that says, "May you grow up and be the protector of our land, O my kind-hearted son." I sing lullaby to you. Although I was a general practitioner, I liked working in the emergency department. When we got an emergency call, we would leave whatever patient we were with and go and see the emergency case. The doctor who works at the emergency department must be versatile. The chief doctor signed the emergency cases, and any doctor would respond to the call. We would not say, "I am a doctor of therapeutics" or "I am a surgeon." When we would get an emergency call, we would go with no refusal if that was our turn. I am in retirement now. I worked 42 years. At that time, there were not many doctors, and we worked in many places. I worked in 4 hospitals at the same time.
After graduating from school, I went to the dental college for 2 years in the city of Chimkent in Kazakhstan. After returning to Shahrsabz, I worked about 17 years as a dentist.
After I graduated from school, my parents told me to choose something other than arts, and I chose to go to medical school. I graduated from medical school, and we moved to Dushanbe, and by luck, I found out that a team of artists named Gulshan at the national TV and radio station were looking for a solo singer. They announced a competition for the position, and I participated, and they listened to me. I prepared a song, and they accepted me, and I was very happy.
I graduated from school in that neighborhood and entered the Institute of Foreign Languages and learned foreign languages. I worked as a translator for several years, and at that time we had many visitors.
I began studying at a medical college and studied there for 2 years. In 1965, before graduating from the college, I got married and gave birth to 2 sons. Thanks God.
After coming to Tashkent, may God rest their souls, singers like Orfale Makhsumov, Ehson Lutfullayev, and the leader of the team, Abdulhashim Ismailov. I worked with them for 17 years. I aired more than 200 songs in the Uzbek radio. I was on TV several times. I gave big concerts in the cities of Uzbekistan.
I became a nurse in 1965 and worked until 2000, and I liked my job very much. Even though my salary was 6 rubles in the Russian period, I never complained that money was little, and I liked my job and I worked a lot. My attitude to the patients was very kind, and the patients respected me. I would enter the patient's room and I would say, "How are you? What can I do for you?" And the patients liked me like their own daughter. I received honors and awards for my work, and my work history book is filled with letters of gratitude. Our city became very beautiful, and every day I pray for my president, for Shav Kachan, every morning. This New Year holiday was the best. I did not recognize my own city, so beautiful and good-looking and clean. If I don't go out, someone will knock on my door and ask me why I did not go out. I respect my neighbors, and if one of my neighbors becomes ill, they call me. I go there immediately, even if it's at night. Thank God my neighbors respect me very much.
We have been living in Central Asia with Uzbeks and Tajiks for over 2,000 years. We never caused harm to each other. Our life was very nice. In different times, Jews had difficulty in different places, but in Uzbekistan, for over 2,000 years, we never saw difficulty or torture. We lived with them like brothers. But the education and upbringing, 4 seasons of the year do not exist anywhere in the world. Even if my children came here and I'm nearing my 80s, my heart, my soul is with Uzbekistan. I want to go to Uzbekistan and live there. I have a house there. I would have no problem living there. Uzbeks live with Tajiks friendly. Uzbekistan is an independent country, and its independence is becoming stronger, and it will be famous in the world with no doubt. When my father died, we won along with people. Uzbeks came to our house and made a funeral prayer. I told about it in Washington, that Uzbeks came to our house to the funeral when my father died. In short, my mother worked with them at the Academy of Sciences of the USSR, and my father worked as an accountant. We're 4 boys, so my mother gave birth to 4 boys and 2 girls. We are all here in America. We all visit Uzbekistan. We lived with Uzbeks. My mom told us, "Today it's a holiday for Uzbeks, your neighbors. When you see them, your neighbors, tell them, have a blessed holiday." My mother taught us so. And vice versa. When we had a holiday, Uzbeks congratulated us on our holidays. Maqsuda, a wife of our neighbor, Ahmad John, our neighbors, when they went to the farm, they would stay there a week, and they would bring apricots and other fruits and give to us. After that, what is interesting, we had a wall, and there was a small door, and when they would go to the farm, they would ask us to take care of their house. And also, we bake and make some bread and would give them, and they would give also some bread when they make bread. We lived very friendly with Uzbeks. We are like relatives.
I have great relations with people here because we grew up here, went to school here, lived in Bukhara with Uzbeks and Russians. If they have wedding parties, they invite us. And if we have wedding parties, we invite them, and they come to ours. We live very friendly like this.
How do you live with Muslims? All tourists from around the globe who come here ask this question. We tell them, for centuries we have been living with them friendly and amicably. Why? It's very simple. We were born in the same street. We grew up together. We studied together. We worked together. Even today, Jews who left after 10 or 15 years, they visit here to remember their parents. And we have a graveyard here. Our graveyard is 1,250 years old. It's one of the oldest graveyards in the world. They visit us here and they all ask, how were you able? Because people who left, they don't have relatives here. They all left. We are only 500 people here in Bukhara. At the airport, they meet them. We also go to meet them. Our President Mirziyoyev is encouraging the strengthening of relations with expatriates outside Uzbekistan. And we have been doing this for some time. When they come here, who meets them? These Uzbeks, Muslims welcome them at the airport, who studied with them together, who worked with them and lived with them in the same neighborhood. Can you imagine that? This is a very high level of tolerance and respect by Muslims to the Jews. The question of tolerance is very important. It has a deep historical root. I will give you a small example. This synagogue was built 420 years ago. I may ask you a question. What do you think? Who built this synagogue? Probably you will say, of course, this is a synagogue and naturally Jews built it. This synagogue was built by a Muslim, one of the richest people, an emir of his time. His name is Nadir Divan Begi. The Labi House ensemble, you will see two madrasas, and in the middle there is a small body of water. This world-famous architectural ensemble is 420 years old, and our synagogue is also 420 years old. What is the relationship between the Jewish synagogue and the ensemble Labi House? This Nadir Divan Begi decided to build two madrasas with the body of water in the middle. In the place of the water, there were houses. His representatives came to agreement with all the residents that they would be relocated to a different place and they would be given houses. And then they will build the body of water in that place. Everyone agreed, except for one woman, a lonely Bukharan Jewish woman. She doesn't have anybody. She says, I'm not going. At that time, Nadir Divan Begi, 420 years ago, this person could have said, remove her from here, take her out, get rid of her. But he goes to her and says, what can we do for you so that we can build a body of water here? She says, Jews pray in different places. Jews pray at their homes. In fact, Jews prayed at their homes and they did not have a synagogue. And she says, build one synagogue for us, and I will live next to it. She asked, and it was done. The foundations of those two madrasas were built in Labi House, and the foundation of this synagogue was built here. They were built at the same time. At the moment, if that was the tolerance of the past, we have a street not far from Labi House. It's called the street of Levi Babakhanov. One of the central and most visible streets of the city of Bukhara is named in the honor of the Bukharan Jew, a musician, and the founder of Shosh Maqam in Uzbekistan, Levi Babakhanov, and you may have heard about him. There is a book by Niktalov called The Singer of His Highness. This book tells specifically about him. This another example. Or if you go to Makhosa, a summer residence of Emir, when you enter through the White Hall, on the right hand, there is also a body of water. As you approach the water, there is a two-storied building. On the second floor, there are windows. The windows are formed with the stars of David. In other words, the emir had a Bukharan Jewish wife. He built for her a special place. She was a beloved wife for the emir. All of these show that the respect to the Jews and friendship between Jews and Muslims have historical roots. As for us, we are among Muslim people. You may know Madeleine Albright was here in 1993 with our first president. At that time, the first Jewish school was opened in Uzbekistan. When Madeleine Albright was here, she visited the synagogue and this school When an Uzbek girl recited a poem in Hebrew, and a Jewish girl recited a poem in Uzbek, and a Russian girl in English, she says, "This is unbelievable." At the center of the Muslim world to see this. It is the fact of life. It's not a propaganda. It's not something artificial. I just took her to the hall and she found this to be unbelievable. She came here and saw those with her own eyes. What else is needed? Or another example. When Madeleine Albright was in Bukhara, and then she returned to America, at that time, there were talks between Palestine and Israel. The representative of Palestine was Yasser Arafat, and the Prime Minister of Israel was also there. They had talks, and she took the hand of Yasser Arafat and the hand of the Israeli Prime Minister, and she said, "Learn how to live peacefully from Muslims and Jews in Bukhara." With this title, there were articles published at that time in Washington Post and New York Times. We come here today freely, this is a miracle. This is really a God-given miracle. We say, where is God's miracle? When the Red Sea opened and Jews crossed, etc. This is happening here, all of it. For this reason, there is no need to leave this place. They ask me now, you have aged, it's time to leave. And I say, why would I leave? What is bad here that makes me leave? Why would I replace this land? Yes, Israel, the land is God-given and the house of God. I understand all of this, but everyone should live in a place where it's good for them. That's the rule.
My generation are artists. My mother played the doira, which is like a tambourine, while my aunt played the doira and danced. Our relatives were artists, and they participated in wedding parties and ceremonies. We would go to the wedding parties of Jews and sing the wedding songs.
My wife is Bella Qayumova. In 1992, Jews spread to many countries in the world, like Israel and America, and my children came to America.
فرزندهای ما هم اینجا اومدن بعد از اون ما هم علاجمون نشد اكون تقاضای دنیا قطعی ما هم
We had no choice, and by fate we came to America and we have been living here. I think everybody misses the country in which they were born, and the new country doesn't become like the old one. In any way, sometimes you think about the country where your parents passed away, where the graves of your parents are. We appreciate Uzbekistan for this reason, though we came to America.
گردم مانندی پدر جانم نمیابم دلم خسته شد بوی پدر جانم نمیآید صد شهرم به شهر گردم مانندی پدر جانم نمیآید دلم خسته شد بوی پدر جانم نمیآید در جهانش معتبر غیری نگاهی پدر جانم جان و دل را قربان میکنم برای پدر جانم پدر و مادر بازار ندارد ای دوستان در خریدن آیاف نمی شود در کاشیدن صرف نمی شود حیف عمر آدمی زاد که اول بهار آخر خزان حیف عمر آدمی زاد که در زیر خاک پنهان است
The father has the highest rank in the family, and the mother is one rank lower. The father raises the son. He molds them and he frames them. The mother frames and molds the daughters. When you see a child's behavior, you can see clearly how the parents raised that child. For instance, the respect that children show older people. Such a child goes to the synagogue, fulfills the prayers, and if someone older than the child comes along, the child should give his seat to that person and show a proper respect. As for the daughters, the mother teaches them such things as, do not go out at night. It is shameful for a girl to go out at night. Also, do not talk to boys, and the proper way to perform household chores, how to make dough and bake and cook. Mothers teach this way so that when their daughters go to a new house after they get married, they will know these things and their hands can work properly.
The life is good, you make money, and you have money in America or in a foreign country, but the upbringing is not good. Children don't wear uniform at schools here, and they wear what they want here. If we don't pay attention to teaching of our religion into upbringing of our children, we may no longer become Bukharan Jews. Wherever we live, we remain together. We get together at our synagogues and confide in each other. We understand each other, even if we are not relatives. We consult with each other and build relations through weddings. However, since they don't have Bukharan Jewish traditions, our children are marrying non-Bukharan Jews. These things are causing some difficulties to us because we don't want our traditions that we have been practicing for thousands of years to disappear. We learned this from Muslims. We are trying to continue our traditions, but we are struggling. In America, the life is different, and the conditions are different. We would respect the elderly. Muslims also respect the elderly very much, and the Bukharan Jews also respect their parents very much. We give them care ourselves to the end of their lives, and we should show care to our parents the way they showed kindness and care to us when we were children.
You know, I think women of every nation, including Muslim women, we know how to behave and how to preserve traditions and how to raise children. Thanks to the fact that we were born in Uzbekistan and someone else in Tajikistan, these values remained with us. For this reason, to be a Bukharan Jewish woman is not easy at all, and to be a professional in the field of culture, we must be loyal and faithful, not only for ourselves, but for our work as well. I am very happy to be given such an opportunity and to exist in this life. I have 4 children, and I am very proud of them.
We Bukharan Jews, our clothing is European. Only during the wedding parties we dress traditional clothing and dance. We have our music remains the same and the food the same. Mosh kichra, palav, mosh khorda, somsa, national bread, and all of this we brought to America. We make them, but Uzbek and Tajik people also arrived and they make them now. When they find out that we are from Samarkand or Bukhara, they become glad since we share the same traditions. We try to preserve everything.
بزغاله کی بام خرده بودم بدو تنگه جان بزغاله و بیامد سگ بیگزید بزغاله را کدام بزغاله را؟ بزغاله کی بام خرده بودم بدو تنگه جان بزغاله
من 23 بودم که من دشوی دادن
I was 23 when my parents arranged my marriage. I met him before the ceremony and I liked him. Now my oldest son looks like him. My husband was a real gentleman. We were a couple. Our wedding party was not big. We did not have a row of cars. Instead, I was transported on a cart. I did not wear a white bridal dress. We all wore our national clothing. We would wear white shawls and national clothes. We would sing songs, and brides would go on carts to the groom's house. The wedding party was not big. After the wedding, we lived well. Then I had my first child and called him Boris John. He grew up and he was very happy. All wedding parties, including Uzbeks, Tajiks, and Jews, have music from the Karne, Surne, and Dura. All these nationalities have these instruments. Recently, there was a wedding party in my neighbor's house, and they used these instruments. We would sing Yor Yor on the wedding night. After this song, the bride offers tazim, which is a bow in front of the groom's parents.
Yor yor yorona asli özüm sizdeki yor yor yorona Poşin bilen közünde özüm pölay maymunda.
The singing of Yor Yor, the tazim, and greetings.
من ازبکستان به حیات برده فرزندام به یهودیای بخاری توی کردگی من.
When I lived in Uzbekistan, I threw Bukharan Jewish weddings to my children because our tribe is the Bukharan Israeli. And we know that, and our generations and ancestors know that.
به زبان خود ما گومیزدگی باشه بسیار نزده میفهمیم ده تا حالی این کارها به ازبکستان ما سخت بود فقط از
If we sit together, we confine and talk. If there are our relatives, we speak in our language. It is always better if we speak in our language. We understand each other. We were very strict about marrying Bukharan Jews when we lived in Uzbekistan. But after we moved to America or to Israel,
دیگه ملت ها که میخوندگی شدن اکثریتشون اینا به یهودی اروپا یک جا شده زنیشو شدین حاضر.
our children, Bukharan Jews, are speaking English. They now study at universities and mingle with other nationalities. They are meeting and marrying with non-Bukharan Jews because they don't have Bukharan Jewish upbringing. They are marrying European Jews.
همون حیات زندگی بخاری نشدگی به فرزند برای همین اینا کمتر بیرون شده به دیگه ملت ها زنیشو شده رفت زدین
کلی خونی دومود به که اومد اوجی کورش ندونستگی کورش.
When the bride comes to the house of the groom, his mother will teach her the kinds of house chores that she does not know. Her new family says to her, "You will do this chore this way and the other chore the other way." We explain it to her. In the past, we did not have natural gas or electricity. We had electricity, but we didn't have clean water. We would travel 2 kilometers to fetch water. Now, thank God, every house has a bathroom, a television. We didn't have TVs at that time. Now we have everything: bathroom, TV, telephone, and others. We play the doira. After the bride comes in, we clap. After we have the bride and groom sit in the middle of the party. We have a party for the wedding. Speakers congratulate the couple. Both the relatives of the bride and the groom also participate in the wedding party. Before each guest speaks, the person in charge of the party describes each speaker. At the end, the bride and the groom dance. In my youth, we would have our wedding parties at home, not at restaurants. Every family had tables and other utensils for the wedding. Restaurants and wedding halls are recent. The family of the bride throws a separate party, and the family of the groom holds a separate party. They bring the groom to the house of the bride, and the goshchi non-ceremony is held, where the bride's eyebrows are tweezed for the first time in her life. The groom will have a chance to meet the relatives of the bride. The groom's side will hold the wedding party at night and fetch the bride. They would take the bride in a Moscovich, a kind of old Russian car, as they did not have modern cars. They would get together and sit, and the groom's relatives would visit the bride. The groom's relatives would say, "Let us drink vodka from the bride's hands and have no worries." The bride's family also shows off the bride's dowry at this party, and the family members make a circle and exchange gifts, such as gold, jewelry, or clothing. These were the rules. After the bride gives birth to a child, she will spend 40 days in her own parents' house, and then the groom visits her and takes her and the baby to his parents' house. This is our wedding tradition. There are no such traditions now. In my time, we did not put babies in strollers or give them artificial food. We would nurse our babies. I have 2 children, 2 sons. I nursed them. I never gave them artificial food.
سبرا به دستم دادی مانند خودت سرخ و سفیدم دادی دادی خیلی خیلی این وعده ای تو چی بود به من از اول دادی در ساعت آخر خود را به دیگر محتاج کردی
خب میگیم ده پسح وای با فطری به نمک بخوریم
Pesach is a holiday. We make a kind of bread called matzah. It is bread without leavening. In the past, people had tandoor ovens in their homes. They would sit 5 or 6 people together with 5 or 10 kilograms of flour and make matzah.
دولتی همون اسرائیل ماید 2 شب یک شب در اصول یک شب در این سینگوگ و همونجا دوملو میبیاد
Pesach is a holiday that lasts 8 days. A religious leader comes from Israel, and we would set a table with good food, fried food and kebabs, soup. The table would be full. We would sing and recite and read.
اکنون اینم یادآوری میکنن دونی سینگوگ به حاضر هر کس خانش و
After Pesach, we have Sukkot, and we make shalash. You call it sukkah. A shalash cannot be built by anyone, only special people. For example, I cannot build shalash. We eat there and live there. There will be light. You go there to eat. For example, we cannot make this, but they build it in the synagogue. They have lunch and dinner there. Before the 8 days of Sukkot, the people who will build the sukkah will buy the materials. 2 or 3 people should share the cost. The building is done after a Torah reading. Then construction begins. Anyone who would like to will participate, but it is not obligatory. Anyone can participate, and there will be a big table for them. There would not be a place to sit. Everyone will attend. Children read poems and sing and dance. We would dance too, and we would have good moods. For me, Pesach is the best holiday. Everyone's house is full. The tables are set with a lot of vodka. Our holidays start with a Shabbat every 7 days. In March we have Purim, and we make bread with oil and samosa. We take them to our relatives. We go to our relatives, all of the relatives, bride and groom and others, and we sit together and drink wine. We make maso, yakni, soup, raisins, pumpkin seeds, and set the table and sit. And all the relatives celebrate for a week. During Sukkot, we read Torah for sure. We eat in one room. We build shalash and hang the fruits, such as watermelon and grapes and other fruits. People who come in would go to the room, and Sukkot lasts 1 week. After 1 week, we have Safar Toya. We celebrate Safar Toya
وای میشد سفر توی میشد کی سفر خرد سفر کی خرده کنی صبح وای میکنه
and we have all kinds of food to eat. This is a great holiday. You call it Simchas Torah. Our holidays are good. We would give all kinds of gifts to children, and they would show off their gifts. As children, we did not understand the holiday. We would only think about gifts.
И радовались. А так мы еще праздники не понимали. Только Пасху мы знали. Только Пасха мы надо донести, где идем мы надо донести.
After someone passes away, we hold ceremonies weekly and then yearly ceremonies. We make places for people and prepare food for people. In the past, we would celebrate at home, but these days we hold such ceremonies in the synagogue because we do not have many people left.
Our children do not know Uzbek and Tajik. They know Bukhari. Our Bukhari differs from Persian in a little bit. At home, we spoke Russian and Bukhari, and with our neighbors, we spoke Uzbek. You should know what my mother did. When the Soviets came, when the Uzbeks who did not know Russian, they came to our house, they would ask my mother to help them to write a petition in Russian, and came to my mother. My mother would ask, explain to me, and they would explain to my mother what the matter was, and my mother would write their petition properly. They would sign, and if they didn't sign, they would put their fingerprint of their thumb, and they would solve their problems when they would go to the municipal government. My mother would say, free of charge. Absolutely. We had these kinds of relations with our neighbors. We Bukharan Jews speak, my generation, Israel and I, we miss so much. Even when we see each other in the street, we try to speak Uzbek, Tajik, Bukhari. We don't even speak Russian. Our children speak Russian, and now they are switching to English. Some of them want to, and we have books for teaching Uzbek and Bukhari, and we give these books to some of our Bukharan Jewish children. They should read these books and learn mother tongue.
Every nation that preserves its own traditions is a living nation. But if we lose our language and culture, in that case, that nation will disappear.
این شب شبی آرای کلین از بخارای اگر کلی نبینید یک دختری زیبای
Our purpose from making this documentary is to contribute to the preservation of the Bukharan Jewish culture and also the Bukharan Jewish language, known as Bukhari. We hope that you enjoyed this documentary. We also hope that you make your own contribution into the preservation of this great culture, known as the Bukharan Jewish culture. Thank you.
آوردیم خیلواری زرد آوردیم از خانه کی چلی بای کلینی خوش رای آوردیم آوردیم خیلواری زرد آوردیم از خانه کی چلی بای کلینی خوش رای آوردیم این شب شبی جانان است داماد در خیال بند است این شب شبی دل بندی داماد